Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name's Joe Tadaro, Advisor Education Analyst at North. Due to the recent changes to the investment menu on North, you've received an email on Monday the 29th of March which outlined the list of funds that have been impacted by the terminations and soft closures. This email also included an attached in-depth FAQ document which indicated what a soft close and terminated fund mean and what you need to do. We've attached this document to our webinar. To access this, select the document icon on the left-hand side menu and select the PDF. Also on the left-hand side menu is a chat icon. Please select this chat icon to ask a question anytime during the session today, and we'll endeavour to get back to you within the next 24 to 48 hours with an answer. We'll also collate a list of questions along with their answers and email these out to you within the next few days along with this presentation pack. That way, you won't need to be frantically writing notes. I'll talk about some of the background around the fund closures and terminations in a few moments' time. It's important that it may have been some time since you may have switched investments on North Online. There's been a series of improvements to the switch functionality, features that we'll discuss today, which will help to reduce transacting times and your overall cost to serve using the North platform, and also reduce the likelihood of errors and manage risk. I'm going to be taking you through a comprehensive overview of switching investments on North Online. Let's firstly take a look at the background to the changes in the investment menu.
For some background, funds offered through North are subject to ongoing review and due diligence. This is performed against a number of investment and client-related criteria, as well as risk considerations. These are aimed at assessing the ongoing suitability of the option for clients and include but are not limited to factors relating to the fund manager and other specific to the investment option, such as relative risk, cost, and tax, market risk, liquidity risk, operational risk, and credit risk. As a result of a recent review of the funds offered through North, we have determined that a number of these funds no longer meet the minimum investment criteria, and as such will implement several changes for these funds. Additionally, there are funds that are being closed as a result of requests by the responsible entity of these funds. And lastly, one fund is being closed as a result of a cheaper unit class of the same fund being available on North. So for North Online news and announcements, find the latest announcements and the applicable change in status for super and pension and IDPS and the corresponding date of change. So let's go ahead and jump on to North Online news and announcements to have a look at some of this information now. So here we are on North Online. We're looking for the support heading just across the top. Head down to news and announcements. And this is where you're going to find all the information relating to some of those changes to the investment menu options, including this article here, which is the North Fund terminations and closures. Go ahead and click here for the full story. You notice that we have a bit of background on the topic as well as a table which will list the APIR code, the fund name, the change in status for super and pension, and the change in status for IDPS, as well as the all-important date of change. So go through this table. We're looking at all of these investments, looking at hard closures and soft closures, so on and so forth. So we're going to scroll all the way down. So have a look at this information there, and also has information relating to terminating hard closing funds and what happens in relation to the automatic buy, sell, and rebalance profiles on the account, and it will ask you, of course, to update the client's investment instructions as soon as possible. So let's take a bit of look of that in depth now. So terminating hard close funds, terminating and hard close funds, you'll need to update your client's standing investment instructions as soon as possible. If your clients hold any of the terminating or hard closing funds in their standing investment instructions, we will require new instructions before that date of change noted. So before those dates were noted in that particular table. If we do not receive new standing investment instructions by this date, we'll take the following action. If the fund appears in the automatic buy instructions, then if we don't receive any changes to the investment instructions by those particular dates, then what North will do is replace the fund with the default investment option, which is the AMP Wholesale Cash Management Trust. If the fund appears in the client's dollar cost averaging or DCA profile, then North will cancel the DCA profile. And likewise for the rebalance profile. If one of the funds appears in the rebalance profile, then North will cancel the entire rebalance profile. And that means that the automatic rebalance facility will not be available and any scheduled rebalance will not proceed. We're talking about the automatic sell instructions. So if they are set as divest as per sell down profile and one of the funds appears in that profile, then North will replace the sell instruction with sell pro rata across managed funds only. So note that's only for super and pension members only, and there's no change to the automatic sell instructions for IDPS clients. If the fund appears in one of your North models, then North will then replace the fund within the model with the default investment option, which again is that AMP Wholesale Cash Management Trust again. So how these changes affect your client's investment. So funds being terminated on super and pension and hard close on IDPS. So for super and pension investors where the funds are being terminated, we expect to receive proceeds within 21 days of the applicable date of change noted in the table that we discussed earlier on North Online. The proceeds will be credited to the investor's cash account and invested as per the standing investment instructions. Where no standing investment instructions are in place, the proceeds will remain in their cash account. For IDPS investors where the funds are being hard closed, investors can continue to hold units in these funds once they have been closed, and they will be able to sell their holdings at any time. They will not, however, be able to purchase additional units after the applicable date of change noted in that table within that news and announcements article on North Online. If clients have a sell profile or withdrawal arrangements in place, these will not be affected by the closure. So if we're talking about funds that are soft close, for clients who currently hold these units in these funds, there'll be no change to their standing investment instructions, so they can continue to purchase units in the fund. However, if they decide to sell their investment in any of the funds in full, they will not be able to purchase units in the fund ever again. If this occurs, the fund will also need to be removed for any standing investment instructions before continuing with any further transactions. Investors who do not have any of the holdings in these funds by the applicable date of change noted in that table that we looked at earlier will not be able to purchase any units in the funds after this date. So we do have an array of support material to help arm your practice through this particular period and through transacting on North Online. And we're talking about some of that material now. If you head on to North Online as we did earlier, looking at the support heading across the top and go ahead and select training resources. Once you're there, you notice there is a how to switch investments option, which is a step-by-step guide. It's a really great guide. It's quite in-depth. Also, you can chat with the North Service Centre consultant while you work. You can also ask them to download a transcript and keep that with you on file upon the conclusion of your chat. Or alternatively, if you wanted to, you can contact the North Service Centre and give them a call to speak with the North Service Centre as well. Also, within a client's account, if you're going to be switching investments, if you select Manage Investments to get there, head down to Switch Investments. Within your client account, there is a Take a Tour option as well, and that's going to highlight step-by-steps of switching investments and call out some of the things that we'll discuss today as well. So let's get into the agenda of today's session, because as we mentioned, you may not have switched investments for quite a while on North Online, and there has been a number of improvements that have been made in the last year or so. Or it just may have been a little while and you need some brushing up on your skills. So we're going to be talking everything switching investments. So note that whether you're a beginner and never used North Online before or a seasoned veteran, today's session will have something for everybody. We're going to discuss the fundamentals, but then also include some intricate details with hints and tips along the way. I'm going to be highlighting what to look for and call out pain points as well. I'm going to introduce you, as I mentioned, to everything that is switching investments on North Online. You're going to get a glimpse of the features and learn their application online. We're also going to provide system demonstrations as well to see each topic in action. So our first section looks at an introduction to switching investments, including some considerations you need to know before you get started. Then we're going to be looking at individually switching investments within a client's account. Then looking at switching investments, utilizing the investment instructions. We're talking about automating. So how do you go about doing that? We'll talk about that. Then we'll look at bulk switching. So when we're talking bulk switching, we're talking about switching for multiple clients at the one time, or it could also just be that you're switching unit by units. We'll round off today's session by how do you manage all of this at a practice level? Well, you can look at event alert notifications. We'll wrap up our session with that particular topic. So without any further delay, let's delve into the session. And our first section is an introduction to switching investments on North Online. So we've got some objectives for this particular topic. You will be able to now identify methods of buying and selling investments on North Online, understand how the cash account plays part when switching listed securities, understand the considerations when switching investments on North Online, ascertain how unit prices are determined on North for managed funds, listed securities, and exchange traded funds, and then discover how long it would take you to expect a confirmation that a switch transaction has completed. So let's get into it. So when switching investments on North Online, there's three ways that you can go about it. One is individually switching within a client's account, and that would be for a dollar value. Bulk switching via bulk transacting. You can also have the option of switching unit prices by unit prices. And then utilizing the account investment instructions. So let's look at some of the considerations before you get started. The proposed values are estimated using the latest information available and may change when the order is executed. Changes may occur as a result of the following. So for listed securities or ETFs, the buy or sell amount requested will be converted to units using the live market price at the time you submit the switch. Where we can't convert the units to match your requested buy or sell amount, we're going to round down your request to the nearest unit, so your buy or sell order will be lower than the requested dollar amount. Any difference between the two, between the trade amount and the actual executed amount, will be reflected in the client's cash account. So note that the trade will be sent to the market immediately once the market is open. So if the market's closed when the trade is submitted, the trade is sent to the market when the market opens the next business day. For managed funds, if the sell amount of the managed fund is sold is greater than 90% of the current value, all managed funds sales will be converted from a dollar-based unit sale to a unit-based sale, using the latest units price we held at the time the switch is submitted. Any difference between the sell amount requested and the actual amount received, again, will be reflected in the client's cash account. And then finally, which is a big one, simultaneous trading. Buys and sell orders are placed simultaneously, so they happen at the same time. So when the switch is submitted, on occasion, the actual total sell proceeds may not be equal to the actual amount, the actual buy amount as requested, as the estimates are estimates only. The difference will be reflected in the cash account, and the cash account balance after the switch may be different to the expected cash value displayed. So buys and sells happen at the same time. So if you're switching from one investment to another, it all will be going through the cash account. For listed security fees, a listed security trade may incur brokerage and/or nominated advice fees. The displayed fees are based on the estimated transaction amount and may change once the trade has settled. So for some minimums, there is a $100 switch minimum, subject to a $650 trade minimum per listed security and ETF. So note that within the investment instructions, you have the ability to put a minimum for managed funds, but it would start with a $0 minimum, which means your switch minimum will be $100. You are unable to sell assets in full that have reserve units or pending transactions in progress. And this is indicated by a red icon, which will appear next to the affected investments. Managed funds buy and sell costs may apply, and 0.11% of the total of each listed security purchase or subject to a trade minimum fee of $34. If you use a panel broker, a settlement fee of $10.25 also applies. So let's talk a little bit about unit pricing. So once a request to switch investments has been submitted on North Online for managed funds, when switching to sell out of a managed fund, the request is issued to the fund manager overnight, so that goes to them the next business day. The unit price received will typically be that next day. The fund manager confirmation allocation to the account on Northern is usually completed within 7 to 10 days, with the exception of longer redeeming funds. So some funds have redemption dates, could be the 15th of the month or the last day of the month, um, sent to the fund manager at that particular time. And then confirmation is received from 7 to 10 days after that redemption date. So if you can, I'd ask that you check the investment PDS for confirmation timeframes, including withdrawal and deposit details as well. For listed securities and exchange traded funds, when switching within market hours to sell out of a listed security or ETF, the trade goes to market in real time with confirmation received on the trade day. Settlement of the transaction occurs plus 2 business days. So for asset sales, so we're talking asset sales, managed funds usually take about 5 to 10 or 7 to 10 days. So again, they're issued to the fund manager overnight within that time frame. There is a document on North Online under support heading across the top. As we mentioned earlier, go all the way down to training resources, and there's a document right at the bottom, which is investment withdrawal confirmation times and managed funds with extended confirmation times as well. So a handy real document. Some of those properties funds have redemption dates of say the 15th of the month. There's lots of other ones in there. So go ahead and check out that document. And then equities and ETFs, it's the trade day plus 2 days. And then finally, term deposits. For Adelaide AMP Bank deposits, there's a 7-day cooling off period. Upon the conclusion of the notice period, if a term deposit's broken, there will be a 31-day notice period. So let's move on to section 2, which is individually switching investments within a client's account. And some of the learning objectives that you'll get out of this section includes how to understand the cash account, how it plays a part when switching listed securities, recognize the role of the cash account and cash account settings widgets to assist you with switching investments within your client accounts, illustrate the information available within the proposed investment holdings tab with a projected asset allocation prior to submitting a switch transaction, illustrate the information available within the proposed fees tab, providing with the projection of fees to submitting a switch transaction, and then finally demonstrating how to download a record of advice or ROA details to assist in generating your client's ROA. Then demonstrate how to track a switch investment after you submitted the request, confirm where to locate completed transactions, comprehend the importance of reviewing the investment instructions when completing a switch transaction, learn how to locate illiquid and winding up return of capital funds, and that's pretty pivotal to today's session, how to identify your clients that hold these funds, and then recognize the constraints of switching illiquid and winding up return capital funds. So let's get stuck into it. So individually switching within a client's account, it's a dollar amount that can be switched to or from cash or from investment to investment. All switches go through the cash account, which allows for simultaneous trading. The ability to switch into multiple term deposits in the one transaction. Enhance the investment search. So what we've done is the investment search has provided a favorites option. You can now view the proposed investment holdings before completing that switch. And again, you've got the ROA data download as well. So we've got 2 widgets that are now available within this switch grid. We've got the cash account widget to the left-hand side, which details the cash change after the investment instruction takes place. And then to the right, the cash account settings widget, which allows you to view the remaining cash balance and how it will compare to the cash target and minimum setting. And then we've got the grid. So as an as an overview of it, this is the switch grid. We've got the investment code, the investment name, the status of investment. That's really important when we're talking about those restricted funds and those funds that are terminating and soft close. Have a look at that status. It'll highlight it for you. We've got the amount available, total amount available, and the sell amount. So you've got a tick box if you wish to sell all. Alternatively, you can indicate the sell amount in the sell amount column and the buy amount in the buy amount column as well. Notice on your screen, one of the investments has a yellow dot next to it, the Perpetual Industry Share Fund. Why is that there? Well, it basically means that that particular fund is pending a buy or sell at that time, so it's reserved units. So at that time, you won't be able to sell all of that particular fund. There's a bit of a warning icon there. There we go. And the available value to the switch is shown in brackets. For term deposits, which we'll run through in our demonstration in a couple of moments' time, there is a More button, and that allows the user to add more information for term deposits. You've got things like the term amount and the maturity instructions as well. So if you go ahead and click on that button, there we go. So we've got term details, including the term, the amount, the interest payment frequency, and the automatic reinvest instructions there too. You've also got the term deposit rates that is available in the corner there. And then once you've added an investment to the switch grid, if you don't wish to proceed with it, you can select the trash bin or the bin icon, and it will then remove it from the switch grid. And this is only if the client doesn't already hold that particular investment. So if you've added it to your switch grid, and then you've decided you don't want to go ahead with that investment, to remove it, you simply click on that bin icon. We've also got a new investment search function that's been launched. The user can now easily filter by investment type to find the investment they want faster. The new investment search has been added to the investment instructions screen within the Switch Investments transaction. So we've made it faster and easier to find the investment you want by adding favorites as well. So if you want to, you can go ahead and add a favorite, which we're going to do in our demonstration as well. So there we go. I'm going to add new investment. And then if you wish, you can select the start icon to add that particular investment to your favorites. So you can quickly access frequently used investments within your practice. Note that is limited to each particular user. And there we've got one of the favorites that we've just added. So that's how you'll be able to access your favorites. Now let's jump onto North Online to explore switching individually within your client's account, up close and personal. So as a reminder here, please keep your questions coming through our demonstration. You might have some questions that come to you by hitting that chat icon on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll love your feedback and to clarify any queries that you might have. So let's jump on North Online now. So here we are on North Online within a client's account. And this account so happens to be a MyNorth Super account. So to go ahead and switch investments individually for this client, we're going to head to Manage Investments, head down to Switch Investments. Here we are within the switch screen. You'll notice we've got the cash account widget and cash account settings widget to the right-hand side. So let's just scroll down just a touch to the switch grid. And we're looking at an example of switching to and from cash to start with. So if you're looking to switch to cash, what we're looking at this cash account widget here. We've got the total value within the cash account right now, the cash change, and then remaining cash. So let's make a change. To switch to cash, you can either select the sell amount in the sell amount box and hit tab, and you'll notice that the changes that have taken effect here, so the value plus the cash change equals the remaining cash amount, which is the total. Or alternatively, if you didn't want to do that, you can hit the sell all box and it will then switch to cash that incomplete that particular investment. So there we go. We've got that 77,000 from that first investment to switch to cash and the remaining cash there. On the right-hand side widget, the cash account settings widget, what it will look at is the the settings that are set within the client's account before you go ahead and do the switch. So what we've got is below minimum. So if the cash account falls below the minimum, and this account is set as a minimum of $0, then it will sell down investments to get it back up to the target. Then we've got a range between the minimum and the target, and then we've got the target set, and it shows the target just there and excess cash. So as a result of this switch to cash, we're switching $77,000 to cash. It shows in the graph there that the cash account will fall within the excess cash range. What does that mean for the client's account? Well, if you look up just here, we've got the automatic buy instructions are set to off. So if you switch to cash, even though the client's cash account is outside of the range where it's been in excess cash, it will tell you exactly what it will do. Remaining cash above the target, excess cash will not be reinvested as the automatic buy instructions are turned off. And it shows you there that they are turned off. So that is switching to cash. How do you switch from cash? Well, all you need to do is indicate a buy amount. So if we're putting a buy amount just in here, I'm going to choose $5,000 and hit tab. Then you'll notice that the amount is actually coming from cash. So the cash change on the cash account widget here is a negative amount. So it's minus $5,000. The cash account becomes this amount here. You notice the widget on the right-hand side, the settings widget, now will be within the cash range. But if I do a little bit more, so I might buy a little bit more from cash. Let's go ahead and let's try 70,000. Might do a little bit higher, 75,000. And what it's done, it's not enough cash to fund this particular buy for this particular managed fund. The cash account settings widget, you'll notice, goes to below minimum, but you've got red all over the account that shows, if we scroll down a little bit there, it shows there is insufficient cash to fulfill your order. Please either reduce the buy order or increase the sell order. So that is switching to and from cash. What about switching investment to investment? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to be selling out of this particular fund for $20,000 and buying into this fund for $20,000. You'll notice there is now no longer a buy or sell from the cash account and cash account settings widget. We're just simply selling from this top fund to this fund just here. So what happens if we have a shortfall? So we might do a buy of $25,000. So we notice that the sell amount is $20,000 for this fund. If there is a difference between the two, the difference will either come from cash or go to cash. So in this scenario, we're buying $25,000, selling $20,000 out of A&P Capital Core Property Fund. The difference will come from cash. So let's proceed with this request now. But before we do that, we're going to look at all the other features that are available on this particular screen for you. We're going to scroll down the page. If one of the investments that you wish to switch into is not available in this switch grid, so let's remove our buy amount there. We're going to scroll down to add new investment. As we mentioned earlier in our presentation, you can either define by selecting what the investment might be, or alternatively, just type in the investment. You can either choose the APR code or type in the investment name. I'm going to be choosing this particular managed fund. Let's choose an index fund. So I'm going to select add, and we'll add it to our switch grid. If you wish, you can select the favorites to add them into your favorites option. So it's all about saving you time on Northern Line. If we scroll back up the top, we're going to scroll back into the switch grid. You notice this is the new investment that we have just entered into our switch grid, and we can now switch into that fund if desired. Also, if you wish to proceed with a different fund and you don't want to use this fund, you can select the bin icon to remove it. So before we proceed with this request, let's talk about some of the other features that are available on this screen, including the proposed investment holdings tab. So the Proposed Investments Holdings tab on North Online is a new feature that was implemented last year. Let's talk a little bit about that because it will allow you to see the proposed investment holdings before you even go ahead and proceed with the request. So to get there, if you weren't already within your switch request, manage investments to switch investments, and then you're within the switch grid. So that tab to the right hand side of the switch instruction is to view your proposed investment holdings. And that is to better understand what your portfolio and asset allocation will look like once the switch is completed without actually submitting the request. So it's a really great feature to go back and forward with different options to look at how the proposed investment holdings look. So once you go into that tab, this is what it looks like, and you've got proposed portfolio. This is what it is currently looking like, what it is proposed to look like, and this is the change. And then you've got a bit of a graphic that is just below, which shows the proposed asset allocation and where it fits, defensive growth, Australian fixed interest, so on and so forth, for current, proposed, and the change as well. So let's now jump back onto North Online and we'll look at the proposed investment holdings up close and personal. So we're back on North Online within our switch request, and we've got two funds that we're buying and selling. So we're selling one fund and buying the other. We're going to select the proposed investment holdings tab. Let's do that now. And within that tab, you'll notice that we've got the proposed portfolio. We've got current. So what is it currently looking like with all of the investments, the dollar amounts, and then percentage amounts. So we've got the percentage amounts for each for the current and then proposed. So by doing these changes, what does it look like after we've actually made those changes? And what are the changes there? So you'll notice there we've got a negative $20,000 and a positive $20,000 just there. So we're switching basically 1.2% of the portfolio. If we scroll down the page just a little, let's keep going down, we've got the proposed asset allocation. So we've got a chart that shows defensive and growth for this particular account. And then we've got broken up into cash, fixed interest, international interest, and growth for current, proposed, and the change as well. And we keep scrolling down and it will list each particular investment into its asset allocation. So lots of information that is available on the screen just there. So if you're doing this for a client, and then you might think, oh, let's go ahead and change it up. What you can do is then download all of this to CSV, go back to the switch instruction. So I'm going to do that now. Let's go back a little bit. Let's make a change. I don't want to buy this one anymore. I want to buy a different fund. I've gone ahead and done that change there. So let's go ahead and go back to Proposed Investment Holdings tab. And there's the changes that are reflected again. So then as we scroll down the page, changes to the proposed asset allocation. And again, if you wanted to, you can download to CSV as well. So let's head back to our switch instruction. So now let's talk about another feature that is now available, which is this tab just here, the proposed fees tab. And that is only available for MyNorth accounts only. Let's have a chat about that. So this is the third tab, which is available for MyNorth products only on North Online within that switch screen, which is of course the proposed fees tab. So this is what it looks like. It sits alongside switch instructions and proposed investment holdings screen. It's fairly new. So if you might have a husband and wife in a family fee group, it won't take into consideration the order of which fees are deducted. So let's have a look. Some of the key features are the proposed fee tab shows current fees as well as proposed fees after the investment switch is completed. And that includes the account, admin, investment costs, guarantee fees, and transaction fees associated with the switch. So the proposed fees automatically take into account individual client fee caps and discounts relating to being part of a family group. So it takes that into consideration, excluding situations where the family group exceeds the family fee caps. So just with that example we spoke about, if you've got a husband and wife in a family group, it won't take into consideration the order of which the fees are deducted. Modeling of different investment switch scenarios is made easy with the ability to compare current and proposed fees, as well as current and proposed asset allocation, which is already available on the Proposed Investment Holdings tab that we discussed earlier. And outputs can be saved for future reference, which means there's no more paperwork. So this is really in a nutshell what it will look like. The first is the ongoing fee bubble that looks at the proposed fees, including the account fee, admin fee, investment costs, and the total fees. And then the second is a breakdown of that. So we've got a breakdown of the individual investments, the proposed value, the percentage rate. So what is the administration fee in regards to that particular investment as a percentage, and also as the amount in terms of the investment cost per annum. So a percentage amount as a rate and a dollar amount as well. And then as you scroll down the page, which we'll highlight in our demonstration, the estimated current and ongoing fees, there is a comparison between current, proposed, and the change. So I've got a bit of a graphic as well as the proposed one-off fees graphic as well. And then we've got a download ROA data button. And that data button is available on the pre-submission screen that enables a data extract to be downloaded once a switch is ready for submission. So any changes to the switch instructions and investment instruction screen will be captured within this data export. The download ROA data button will always provide today's ROA data estimate, so it's important that if you're making a change or you're coming back another day to re-click that button and it will redo the data estimates. The data contains estimates supporting the completion of a switch relating to ROA data, including general information like the client advisor name, account number, summary of the changes, buy and sell instructions, proposed asset allocation, and the fees breakdown. So we've got the button just there. You go ahead and select that to open up to all of this information that we've got here. So the summary of the changes, just like that, the buy and sell instructions, the proposed asset allocation, and then the fees breakdown as well. So again, this is a good opportunity to jump back onto North Online. We'll show you what it looks like in action. So here we are back on North Online. Let's go ahead and select that proposed fees tab because this client account is a MyNorth Super account, so that option is available. So if you were any other product, so you might be a North product or you might be Summit, Generations or iAccess, this facility or this tab will not be available to you. So let's go ahead and select it. And you'll notice there we've got account fee, admin fee, investment costs, and total ongoing fees as well. And as we slide down the page there, we've got the fee breakdowns. So you'll notice that we've got the percentage amount. So what is this? In terms of the percentage amount for the administration fee, and it lists it just below. It also has in brackets if it's a select choice menu option as well, as a fee percentage amount, and then as a dollar amount as well. And then when we're looking at investment cost per annum, we'll look at the MER fees. And then to the right hand side, we've got transaction fees. So it will show you, when you click on the question mark, it will detail exactly what is listed just there. So the best part about it is if you wish to make changes to it, so you looked at this data here, you've selected the CSV download, gone back to switch instruction, and then made some changes. So you might have a client who's quite fee sensitive. You say, okay, let's go ahead and make some changes to the account. Let's switch it up. I've gone ahead and done that there. So you've already looked at the proposed investment holdings. Now let's look at proposed fees. And here are the changes that are just there in regards to that. So you can flick back and forward for the best options that are available for your client. And as we scroll down the page, let's keep going. We've got the proposed ongoing fees graphic, and then we've got a table that shows the current and proposed and the changes to the account administration and investment costs as well. And then we've got a graphic that is just there. To the right-hand side of that, we've got proposed one-off fees as well. So none listed for this particular transaction. So we're going to scroll back up the screen. So what we've done is we've gone through the switch instructions, so the instructions on the account individually for the client, proposed investment holdings, and then the proposed fees. Let's go back to the switch instruction because what we want to do is proceed with this request. We're going to proceed to the investment instructions review page. Page number 2, investment instructions. So on page 2 of your switch request, when switching within your client's account, you'll be prompted to review the account's investment instructions. So that includes the cash account settings, trade settings, automatic buy instructions, automatic sell instructions, account rebalance instructions, and the automatic buy, sell, and rebalance profiles. It is really important to check that these settings before submitting your switch request. So if you had switch investments to cash and want the money to stay in cash, however, the automatic buy setting is set to investors per buy profile. Once the investment's clear, the cash will automatically be reinvested as per your buy profile. So this may incur unnecessary buy and sell costs, brokerage if applicable as well, and also a change in unit prices, which may have a monetary impact to your client's account, and your practice may be liable for compensation based on this error. So to avoid this when switching to cash, if you want to leave the proceeds in cash, set the automatic buy setting to leave excess funds in cash. And this is one of the most recurring errors that practices make which lead to compensation owed to their clients. So we're going to discuss the investment instructions in depth in a little later on in our session. So we're now back on North Online, and we spoke about the cash account settings, including the minimum cash balance, setting the target. We're going to discuss all of this in depth a little bit later on. The trade settings. And while we're on the trade settings, if you wish to trade equities or listed securities, the trade account status needs to be active before you can proceed with trading listed securities. So we'll scroll down a little bit and we've got the automatic buy instructions. And that's what we were referring to just before. If you're switching money to cash and you might have investors per buy profile listed just there as your automatic buy instruction, what does that mean if you switch the money to cash? It means that any money outside above your target cash amount will be invested as per the buy profile here. So if you want that money to stay in cash, best thing to do is select leave excess funds in cash. So even if the cash account balance is above your target cash account balance, so it might be above this, which is 5% in this example, it means the money will actually stay in cash. And this is really important, one of the biggest errors that does happen within practices. Automatic sell instructions, automatic buy, sell, and rebalance profiles. So let's proceed to the next page, which is the pre-submit documentation screen. So here we are on the pre-submit documentation screen. So how do you go ahead and submit the request for your client? Well, what you'll need to do is to open the hyperlink here to the left-hand side of the screen, the transaction request. Let's go ahead and do that now. And this is your client consent that the client may need to sign and date according to your licensee agreements, licensee requirements. So what it does, it will highlight the changes that we're making just on here. We've got selling one fund, buying the other. It's got a declaration and signature just there. So note that you're submitting your request on North Online. You will not need to provide this request to North if you're submitting on North Online. North don't need any signatures for switching if you're doing this on North Online. So all that's left to do is you can either hit save to resume, and what that means, it means you can come back to your request at another time. Or alternatively, you can proceed with the request when desired by ticking the box to confirm. The submit button will then become available to you for you to select to proceed with the request. Note that if you selected save to resume to come back to this request at another time, say if you've come back to it another day, note that sometimes you may receive a bit of a message, a warning message when you come back into the activity. It might be that some of the unit prices have changed. What North will be asking you then is to just refresh the details within your switch request to proceed with that particular request. And that does happen quite a bit. So for this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and submit the switch transaction. So let's do that now. I'll hit submit. It tells us they're about to perform a switch. I'm going to select OK. So there we have it. We've gone ahead and submitted a switch request for our account. Let's scroll down the page. Scrolling down. And you'll notice there is a red dot that denotes there are pending transactions in progress. What are we doing? Well, we're basically selling one fund to buy into another. If you select the detail tab, it will show you exactly that. So pending values are negative 20,000. We're selling from the AMP Capital Core, and we are then buying into the other fund. So there you go. That is switching within an individual client account. So there are some nuances to this, and we're going to be talking illiquid funds, winding up return of capital funds. Let's get to that now, considering the current period the current climate that we're in. So the current volatile environment means that you may come across these funds. As you know, we've reached out to you in regards to this for your client accounts, may require you to switch investments. So let's delve into identifying these funds and then extracting a list for your client accounts that may be impacted. And then we'll look at functionality on North Online Switch screen when it comes to these investments. So on North Online, how to identify these particular funds. So obviously within the news and announcements article that's on North Online, it highlights those particular funds. But outside of that, though, there is investment information available on North Online at the top. Select that, head down to the investment menu option, which will look exactly like this. And then scroll down the page, you can find illiquid funds that are listed just here. So North will email advisors' registered email address with upcoming redemption windows, along with instructions and the next steps. And then if you keep scrolling down, we've got winding up return of capital funds that are listed just there. So let's flick back to North Online and I'll show you how you're able to run a report via the advisor reporting tool to locate some of these funds and your affected clients. So on North Online, we're looking for reporting across the top. Head down to advisor reporting. In the advisor reporting tool, select the drop-down box, then select funds under advice by account with investments. You then have the option to filter by product line and account type if desired, or search and select for an advisor if you have multiple advisors within your practice. Alternately, include all. Then by investment, select search and select, and then type in the APR code of the affected investment. Select search. This particular one, we're looking at the Ironbark fund. I'm going to hit select. It moves it into our selected investments, and then I hit apply filters. Then we will then have a list of all of the affected clients that will be listed below, and you then have the option either to manage the columns by choosing different options available to you there, or you can then download to CSV. I now want to show you what it looks like within the switch grid when switching individually within your client's account. I've got one example here of a fund that is closed and is a sell-only fund. This is the Cromwell Direct Property Fund, and how do you know it is an affected fund? Well, it is denoted by the yellow icon to the left-hand side there, and that's when you hover over it, it'll say suspended for buy transactions. This is a soft close fund. Shows here that that it's closed and it is sell-only status. So sell only, funds will allow to sell out of the investment, however, cannot purchase new units. So if you wanted to sell out of it, you can either select the sell all box or denote the amount in the sell amount if desired. So restricted funds and switching, a little bit different. You'll notice there we've got, well, a terminated fund. We've got funds that are suspended for all transactions, or it's a frozen fund. And the status there is indicated as frozen for all transactions. You notice the sell all option and sell amount and buy amount actually are all grayed out. You won't have the ability to transact on this particular fund at all. So you can't switch into or out of that particular investment. So that includes switching within an individual client account. Let's move on to monitoring the request. So really important, once you've gone ahead and facilitated the switch of investment. So just like we did with our example where we walked through on North Online, so we've gone ahead and submitted our switch request on North. So what do? You go into Activities on North Online, then select Activity Management, and then once the application has been submitted, you're able to track the status of that particular activity. So once you're there, we're going to select the In Progress tab on North. You notice we've got a switch transaction activity that is listed just there. So once the transaction has completed, it moves to the completed folder. And then once it has done that, what you can do is go to statements and correspondence within your client account, select statements and correspondence, select the drop-down menu and select investment switch. And you can then change the date if you wish, since inception or last month, whatever you'd like. Changes the corresponding account, and then it will populate the details below. So we've got a switch transaction as the description, and under download, we've got a bit of a hyperlink that you can select there. So let's move on to section 3, switching by utilizing the investment instructions. And this is a really important area to focus on, as it's where most of the errors that do occur within client accounts actually happen. So let's have a look at a bit of an example on our screen. We've got standing investment instructions. So to get there and to make changes to your client account, you can either do it by page number 2 of your switch request that we looked at briefly earlier, or if you select manage investments within the client account, select investment instructions, which will take you there. So it is vital to review the account standing investment instructions before completing your switch request, as we mentioned earlier. But what you can do is switch by utilizing these instructions on the client account. And they all, so what we've got is you've got the minimum, you've got the target cash balance, so two really important pieces of information, which what they actually do is act as triggers. The minimum cash balance acts as a trigger to sell down investments within the account according to the automatic sell instructions that you set. And then we've got the target cash balance, which when the cash account's above the target cash account balance, then it acts as a trigger to start buying investments as per your buy profile. So these automatic triggers that you can place on client accounts are, of course, automatic. It removes the human element to switching investments. So for example, if you're setting up a brand new account, if you've got money rolling in from a whole lot of different funds and a client is making a contribution into their account as well, you don't have to keep reviewing your client's account every day to see if money has arrived. You don't have to do that at all. You can just set the instructions on the account so money can automatically invest or automatically sell down to top up the cash account. So let's look at the first, which is minimum cash balance. So when the cash account falls below the minimum cash balance, the automatic sell instructions are triggered to bring the cash account balance back up to the target cash balance, and that is subject to trade minimums. So here we go. Now we've got the set the target cash balance. You've got two options there, either set as a percentage of the total account value or as a dollar amount. So you've got the choice of either. The target cash balance is used as to trigger to invest excess cash on a regular basis. The buy instructions are triggered when cash exceeds the target by $500. So I urge that you read the PDFs in relation to this. So when you choose a percentage cash account target, then the selected cash account will be topped up back to the minimum plus the target cash balance amount. And if you choose a dollar target cash amount, then it is selected, then it will top up to the cash account target dollar amount. So a bit of a difference between those two. So then as you scroll down the page on North Online, really pivotal to those two instructions are the automatic buy instructions. So what we've got there, you've got different instructions to set as a trigger to start buying. If you've switched investments to cash, your automatic buy instructions may automatically repurchase investments once they confirm their sale to cash. So if desired to keep the funds in cash, as we mentioned earlier in today's session, set the automatic buy instructions to leave excess funds in cash. And likewise, if you wish for funds to be bought, to be purchased in line with your automatic buy instructions, you would then set your setting to investors per buy profile. That's a really important setting. Got a bit of a graph that's on your screen now, and it shows how it all works. So when we spoke about in switching investments, remember that cash account settings widget? Well, this is where it is applicable. So what we've got, if the cash account balance falls below minimum, then a sell is triggered according to trade minimums. Then you've got the cash range, so the minimum cash balance up to the target cash setting. Anything above that, so above the target cash setting is the excess cash, and that is where your buy is triggered. And then finally on the screen there, which I haven't highlighted, is the automatic sell instructions on the account. So this particular account is set to pro rata across managed funds only. And what that does is when the cash account falls below the minimum, and this account looks at a $0 minimum, when the cash account falls below that minimum, it will then prompt the sale of investments to get the cash account back up to its target cash balance, which is at 5% of the total account balance there. So I know that was a really brief rundown of cash account investment instructions. So these are the automatic instructions that you can set on the client's account, and it is a form of switching investments. Um, For more information, I ask that you select the support tab across on North Online, head down to training resources. You'll find a cash account guide which will explain this in a lot more depth, including the ordering of the cash account and various examples as well. So let's move on to bulk switching, looking at another way to switch investments on North Online. This is our last method of switching on North as we demonstrate functionality associated with bulk switching. The trading shares and managed funds within bulk transacting menu option on North allows you to not only switch for multiple clients, but also trade listed securities, exchange traded funds, and managed funds in units with a limit trade individually or for multiple clients if desired. So a really powerful tool on North Online. So what you're going to get out of it is you're going to discover how to trade listed securities, exchange traded funds, and managed funds in units with a limit trade individually or for multiple clients. Learn how to trade listed securities, exchange traded funds, and managed funds for multiple clients via bulk transacting. Learn how to identify clients that are eligible for select investments, and then confirm available cash for your selected clients as well. So let's get into it. So a little bit different on North. We're looking at the bulk transacting area on North. Hit that menu option across the top, then select trading shares and manage funds. So once we're in there, your screen will look exactly like this. If there are multiple options for advisors, you'd select the drop-down box. Otherwise, keep it as all. And then to do that, you would just select the drop-down. And then what you can then do is select investment. So selecting the investment, hit that box there, and then you can type in the particular investment. I've just typed in AMP, shares just there. Tick the box and hit select. And then your screen will then look like this. So then you've got the option to buy or sell. So you select buy or sell, then hit the drop down for dollar or unit base. So remember, this is the option where if you wanted to, you can trade in unit amounts if desired, or keep it as dollar. I'm going to select unit for this particular request. And then we've got the order type. So you can set a limit to it, or you can go to market with that particular trade as well. I'm going to set a limit for this. You then type in your limit. And then you've got the order expiry as well. So you've got no expiration, good for the day, or good until cancelled. I'm going to select good for the day for this request. You've then got the option for market depth as well. If desired, it shows some market depth there. Note that it will then tell you that client accounts that are restricted from trading this investment will not be available for selection. So what is an example of this for this particular trade? Well, I've select an equity. So if you have clients that don't have an active share trading account, then they won't appear here for you to buy or sell this particular investment. So how do you obtain a share trading account? Well, within the investment instructions, selecting edit and then requesting that share trading account through there. Note that it can take up to 24 to 48 hours to come back from the broker to be confirmed. Once it is confirmed, they will then be on this list that is listed just here. So you would then select add clients to add clients to your list. So to do that, there is a client search. You can filter by product lines if you like. You can filter by account type if desired, or you can enter the account number to make it easy for you. Once you've added the account, you will then select add to selection. And then once you've done that, it pulls it down to the bottom area, select accept. So once you've pulled that client down to this area here, you'll see that there is available cash for that client. So you can see their available cash, you can see their current holdings, the quantity, estimated value, estimated brokerage of it as well. Then we're looking at estimated total amount in a dollar amount. And if there are fees that are associated that you have entered for advice fees associated with this particular trade. Then all that's left is select next to go to the pre-submit documentation screen, and you would then submit that request just as you would for any other request on North Online, but opening the pre-submission documentation uh, document there. And again, by submitting on North Online, the North Service Centre don't require that document, but of course you may need signatures required on file according to your licensee agreements. Tick the box to confirm and hit submit whenever you're ready. So that wraps up our bulk switching and switching on North Online. So you might be asking, how do I manage all of this? This is quite a lot to manage within a practice. So how do you do that by getting efficiency? Well, we're talking our last section, which is event alert notification. So North gives you the tools to actively monitor everything associated when switching investments for your client at a practice level by the way of an event alert notification. Some of the objectives you'll get out of this section is learn how to receive an event alert notification in order to manage transactions at a practice level efficiently. Discover who will receive event alert notifications when subscribed. Learn about the event notifications associated with switching investments that are available on North Online. So we're on North. How do you go about it? Well, under the Access heading across the top, select Event Alert Management, and advisors and support staff can subscribe to event alerts which push out an email notification. So there are lots of options that are available for you to select an event alert, and the notification can be subscribed, which will push out an event alert to your email and the registered advisor's email address when an event alert takes place. If you're an advisor out there, only if you subscribe to event alert, only you receive that event alert. So there's lots of options that are available to you. One of them that I've pulled out is equity trade execution. Just select the drop down menu, select yes. It will then ask you for a frequency if desired. I've put monthly and then hit save. And that's really all you'd need to do.
Please keep your questions coming. We'll keep the webinar open for a few minutes more to make sure you get your questions in. We'll get back to you within the next 24 to 48 hours. As mentioned earlier, we'll collate all of the questions asked with answers and email these out to you in the next few days. Please stay tuned to North News and Announcements for pivotal information as it comes to hand. Thank you so much for your attendance today. We're confident that the information that we've highlighted in today's session will assist you over the next few weeks during the changes to the investment menu and help to reduce transacting times and your overall cost to serve using the North platform. And also, very importantly, reduce the likelihood of errors and manage risk. To provide feedback on our session today, please take the time to fill in our short survey, which will pop up automatically for you after the session. We look forward to seeing you all soon in our next webinar. From me, Joe Tadaro, it's goodbye for now.